A lovely good morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show. We apologize for bringing the program late. This was due to technical circumstances beyond our control. However, we proceed with the breakfast show this morning, Wednesday. As usual, it's a policy, politics, and governance issues. And with me, Patrick Soko, and my usual co-host, Shalon Kalimbula, we will be with you up to the hour of 9. And just now, to get started, we have to understand how
we'll go straight into the morning burst. Actually,
how the puppy is giving us those drills.
The fitness puppy. What the fitness puppy has for us this morning.
It's quite interesting.
He's always very excited to just show his drills. You know, they always say where you operate from, it doesn't matter where. That's your office. So the fitness puppy really feels
the
environment, of the office, and he really enjoys that and brings us the most every morning through the gym that he operates just right here in Kablonga, Patrick, in case you want to go there. Let's look at these drills and see if we can emulate.
Yeah.
Hello. It's your boy Harrison, aka the Fitness Puppy, and I'm saying happy festival season to you. And we are here again at Chon's Fitness Gym in Kablonga in conjunction with the Camnet TV. And guys, today I am going to take you in two variation of deadlift. Apparently we have 3 variation of deadlift. So now here we can just perform 2 types of deadlift. Okay, so first I'm going to start with this usual one, the conventional one, like the most popular. So this one, I'm sure in my previous video you saw it. Chin part of your body, the chin body has to be close to the bar. Then your hands are outside the legs, then you hold it nicely, then pull it up. And then as usual, the ending part is the core as well as the glutes. So this is the conventional type of deadlifts. Okay. So this was the conventional type of deadlift. So I'm going to show you another one. So this one is called the sumo deadlift. So the sumo deadlift, stand wide, then instead of your arms to be outside the legs, now they are inside the legs. And the conventional one, you are going to pull down the bar using your back. So now this one, you are using your legs. So it's more like a squat. So you bend all the way. Then so remember, when you go up, the chest has to be out. Oh, that's all for today. You've been with me, Harrison, aka the Fitness Puppy. Remember, it's about your health, and we're here at Chon's Fitness Gym in Kablonga. Say bye-bye.
Welcome back. There you have it. Quite an interesting drill there by the fitness puppy. I hope you managed to get that one. If you have that bar at your home, you can be able to. That's how you can lift it. You see, I even remember one of the players
nowadays are being sold almost.
Yes,
everywhere.
they are in game and everywhere. So I was trying to work on having one for myself as well. Those things, so that
you want to be the fitness
I can
puppy?
keep. No, I'll be the fitness bulldog.
All right. So we surely hope that you take part in these exercises, which is just about 3 minutes, and the fitness puppy tries to make it actually even more simpler. By about 3 minutes or 4 minutes, somewhere there.
Yeah.
So you should be able to have that 5 minutes spared from your schedule before anything else in the morning, before freshening up. At least you do 1 or 2 drills and then flex your muscles, and you shower and hit the road for whatever activity you're going to have on that particular day. Before we move away from talking about health related issues, let's look at the health corner and see what the doctors have for us this morning.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya. So this week we are talking about ALD, which is alcoholic liver disease. And alcohol is one of the things that is affecting our community so much. And people are really abusing alcohol and taking alcohol in excess amounts. So we want to understand this week what really happens to the liver. Yesterday we said that when you take alcohol, especially in excess amounts, your body has to metabolize that alcohol into a chemical called acetaldehyde, which causes inflammation and injury to the liver. And so this results in scarring of the liver over time. For some people, however, they might not really experience this scarring in their lifetime. But for some people, they will experience this scarring. Other people might experience other signs and symptoms of alcoholic liver disease that we are going to discuss today. So for alcoholic liver disease, it's many people actually have alcoholic liver disease without even knowing that they have alcoholic liver disease. And for some people, it's just found incidentally in the hospital when maybe they are sick and they have another condition, and so when they are screened and their tests are done in the hospital, they are found to have alcoholic liver disease as well. And for other people, they might experience certain signs and symptoms that might actually lead them to the hospital. So for alcoholic liver disease, some people might not experience any symptoms at all, while some people might have certain symptoms. Some might have, at first, some people might have symptoms of having an infection, like a virus. So they might have symptoms like fever, vomiting, nausea, abdominal pain, mostly on the right upper quadrant. That's where the liver is located, on the right side of your abdomen, on the upper side, the right upper side of the abdomen. So that's where your liver is located. So some people might have pain in that area. So some of the other signs that they might have is that they might have jaundice. So you might see that their eyes are becoming yellow. And apart from the eyes becoming yellow, you might also notice that their abdomen or their stomach starts becoming bigger in size. So you might find the abdomen starts distending. And this distension can occur over time, and sometimes it can happen very acutely in some people where it just happens suddenly and they just have this swelling in the abdomen. For some people, they might also experience other complications that happen with alcoholic liver disease. So they might experience swelling of the legs, and this just shows that the vessels have become affected and there is a lot of fluid that is going into the blood vessels, which is also pulling out into the tissues. So they might also experience other symptoms. So most people would have these signs and symptoms. For other people, they might not really experience any symptoms, but most of the times, these are the symptoms that they might have. For some people, if the vessels become so affected and they are becoming bigger in size, including the vessels that are in the esophagus or the lining of the esophagus, which is the pipe where the food passes into the stomach. So if the vessels in that area become big, they might experience what we call hematemesis. So the vessels might burst out and they might start vomiting blood. We call that hematemesis. So they might have hematemesis, which is vomiting out blood. So these are some of the signs and symptoms of alcoholic liver disease. And if you notice anyone that you stay with and you know that they take alcohol and you know that they take alcohol in excess amounts and they have such symptoms, then you need to take them to the hospital. For other people, they might have other complications, like where they have tremors. They shake most of the times in their hands, they're always shaking. So it means that the alcohol is really affecting their nervous system. So they have these shaking movements in the arms most of the times. And for others, they might even have seizures because of the alcohol that is affecting the nervous system. So you might find that they start having fits because of the alcohol. So make sure that you take your loved ones to the hospital. If you know somebody who is taking alcohol in excess amounts, make sure you take them to the hospital so that they can be screened and they can be seen and they can be helped on how to reduce their alcohol intake or even helped to stop taking alcohol altogether. So whatever age group they are in, whether it's an adult or a child that you know in the community who is abusing alcohol, take them to the hospital because the doctors in the hospital were able to take care of such patients and able to help them to stop their alcohol consumption. So that is all that we had for today. I do hope you have learned something, and make sure you watch again tomorrow, where we'll be talking about the diagnosis and treatment of alcoholic liver disease in the hospital. What is done for the patient and how is it treated in the hospital. So thank you for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Welcome back. That was the doctors bringing us up to speed with what's happening in the world of health, and we surely hope that you learned one or two things. Let's look at how the kwacha is faring against the major convertibles.
Well, $1 is buying at 19 kwacha 1 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 52 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 07 ngwe and they're selling at 1 kwacha 10 ngwe. The euro is buying at 20 kwacha 59 ngwe and selling at 20 kwacha 99 ngwe. The Greater British Pound is buying at 23 kwacha 39 ngwe and selling at 23 kwacha 83 ngwe. Those are your money market. As you can see, the kwacha has been performing badly and it is going towards a 20 kwacha against $1, which is not going to be conducive for the Zambian economy that is struggling at the moment.
Indeed, Patrick. And also when you look at the rand, it's also not doing very fine. As for other things from South Africa, back in the country, Zambia here, it's fluctuative and it's a little bit high. You find that the other day you're ordering things at this much, next week you're trying to order them they're a bit higher, things like that, because the kwacha keeps on depreciating, even to the currency that we use most of the time, which is the South African rand. So we surely hope that it stabilizes at least Iran should be trading at 18 way. That will be good for us.
Yeah,
800.
yeah, you in the business community.
Yes.
But what we need to do is make sure
us.
that it just performs better against the dollar.
Yes.
Then the rest
will also will be compelled to operate within the normal and see. All right, Patrick, let's look at one of the stories that we did yesterday. It's the Campasa story.
Yes, what an interesting
story. It's been running for a very long time, and it seems nothing is being done to help the situation. Different angles, but all coming back to the same. So yesterday, Beatrice covered a story where the residents of Chongwe's Campasa village started moving back into the land they were allegedly forced to vacate from by their Member of Parliament, Silva Masebo, as their current space can no longer accommodate them. Speaking to Camnet News, the residents have lamented that the land in question originally belonged to them after a white settler identified as Ranswick Michaels Arnold, who lived there, was deported by government, hence causing wrangles over its ownership for some time. They allege that for over 10 years, Ms. Masebo has been conniving with some individuals to claim the land and commercialize it. Let's look at the story, and thereafter we will discuss how we understand it. To you, our callers, or the viewers, you can start dialing the numbers that are scrolling on your screen. Let's get interactive on some of the stories that we are beaming, which we ran yesterday. Good morning.
In Chongwe district, hosting a population of over 2,000 families on a 20-hectare space. The village has been in existence from the period before Zambia's independence and was owned by a white settler identified as Rensburg Michael Arnold Johnson. However, after the deportation of the then owner, Mr. Arnold Johnson, in 1976, a man identified as Galonia resided on the land and claimed part of it while conducting farming activities as alleged by the residents of Campasa village until some years later when he died. They have further explained that with Galonia's son Michael on the land after his father's death, the residents lived together as Michael took over his father's farm, leaving 168 hectares for the residents, which in the period between 2010 and 2012 is alleged to have been taken away from them by Chongwe Member of Parliament Silvia Masebo and alleged partner identified as Licta, whom, as explained by residents, was Michael, Galonia's son's caretaker.
Tinangala pano pantawu itali ineneza uchoka pano kuskulu kwenda kukasisi nakulira ku area kuno nazima ikapamu ngaone konkalamba zone kapasaiti zakulira pano so nadaba kutika kunkhala madeza kumbuyo chaka mungwerere kukafika phase 1 kuja kuchoka kuno kwenda ku ZNS kuja palupiri papenzo khala wakapokola kuja kwenza kambati mabroko chanchanchani yose ze area ya muntu mosi so manje paka mwapato antu akuno nje tinalenga sota na malo winangwa ya guli
2012 kufika 2013 wanatiletera bakapokola kuno ife benango tilala all my leaders balino Campasa wanatigwira tinendo kasira 1 week ku police na ma fingerprints yathu ali kwamene kuja ulu ni Rufyengo roba honorable Silvia Masebo ndiwo amene ndakolesa bakapokola kuno chifuka cho konda ndarama.
They further alleged that Ms. Masebo ordered officials from the Zambia Wildlife Authority ZAWA to evacuate the settlers from their land, leaving them to squat on their current space with dilapidated structures which can no longer accommodate them as their population has continued to increase from 450 to over 2,000 families.
Zonkala pamene pano pa area tinadaba chewaona le Silvia Masebo kwe sanga yin na bantu minutu hata visi hata nuko huko ise kwatu ni kuno pitana taona tibaleka kuno wapezeka kuno 2010 vanabwela na ndani Licta hapo atinda bokuzani watu wa Campasa kuti malo ni ya mwine wake mzungu atoka kuti mzungu.
Meanwhile, Chongwe District Treasurer for the United Party for National Development, UPND, Oliver Kubanja, has ordered the people of Campasa to reclaim their land and build safe structures on the land, unlike their dilapidated structures, as the land in mention belongs to them.
Now, pame wanakuvotela vantu. Even pame unabwela mkulira kuno Campasa, mukulira kuno kampasa ati nivotereni ine vonse bijabya kudala so tuchiteko bintu binango but tudabwa libwererapo chabe then nga chabwera pati kuchinja nzeru manje wamba usebenzesa likita no usebenzesa bapolisi so ati bapolisi wabwe watugwiri ifwe twagabana kudala twangena kudala bantu bamanga and everything ini landi chabe mzaka isia mama.
Miss Masebo, however, by broadcast time indicated that she was held up and could not react to the allegations made by the people. Beatrice Chawaya, Camnet News, Chongwe.
His plea to have the Lusaka's magistrate court order for the release of his passport to enable him travel abroad for his treatment has been declined. Last week, Lusaka businessman Harry Findlay, who is also former President Edgar Lungu's associate, made an application before Magistrate Suve Munyinya through his lawyers requesting the court to order for the release of his passport to facilitate for his travel abroad for medical treatment. Mr. Findlay's lawyers had submitted that the passport can either be released on temporary or permanent basis because his heart needs to undergo surgery aimed at restoring circulation of blood. According to his lawyer's further submission, he is unwell and currently placed on 4 days bed rest, but still cannot rest out of respect and high regards to the court and its procedures. However, delivering a ruling this morning, Tuesday, the 14th of February 2023, Magistrate Munyinya says she has no authority to make such a directive, considering the fact that the passport is not in custody of the court and has not yet been issued as an exhibit. This is in a matter in which the state accuses Mr. Findlay of acquiring a Zambian passport on the 3rd of October 2022, purporting to have lost the one he had obtained earlier. He is also accused of being in possession of endorsement of forged immigration stamps for Mwami Immigration Border Control in his passport, purporting that it was officially endorsed when in fact not. The matter comes up on the 20th of February 2023 for continuation of trial. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Well, there you have it. Quite interesting stories there. Two stories, one from the court and another one from Chongwe. I remember prior to the August 12, 2021 general election, we did handle quite a number of stories coming from Chongwe in terms of who should be the right candidate, especially for the UPND.
Yeah.
We saw quite a number of people trying to contest, but however, the Madam Masewa was given back the adoption certificate. Yeah. So now interesting issues are emerging on over the issue of Campasa. I remember I was too young during the Campasa saga, Campasa issues. Don't think I was even a journalist by then. I remember if I was a journalist then I was just starting because I remember one of our colleagues should be Mwapwikumen
extensively covered.
Yeah,
the
she
story.
extensively covered the story pertaining to Campasa, where they had those people were moved, you know, all those issues. The land in question was under contestation with the Zambia National Service as well. It was issues did come in
a lot of
issues, and they were relocated. Now we have seen that they are going back. What is really the issue there, Sharon? Why are they going back?
According to the story that was brought on the table, Patrick, it's like the population has increased. From they were given a very small piece of land to occupy after being moved, but now the population has increased. I mean, if Zambia's population as a whole has increased, according to the census for 2022, that means almost everywhere population has increased. People are recreating each other. They're becoming more. They're responding to the call of God to say, go on earth and multiply. And they are multiplying. So you don't expect people that you moved 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because they were 10 to be 10. Obviously now, open now, you know, the kids into play. What? Imagine they were saying it's 10 years ago. So literally there were kids that were born about 9 years ago, 10 years, they're old now. You know, they need a bigger space to fully function. And besides, that's some sort of a rural settlement where people need to do some agricultural practices for them to feed, you know, for them to have these economic activities here and there. So they want to go back to the place which they are calling home, which is Campasa. And that's where the contestation is, like you mentioned, Patrick, and the area member of parliament, Suva allegedly has not even tried to go to that locality and conversate with those people and probably assure them, or maybe tell them off. You know, there are two things involved. It's either you tell me, Patrick, say, I'm not going to give you this, or hold on for me, I will give you. Don't just stay quiet. For me, I think that's not okay. That's what the people are calling for. They want their area MP to address them on this matter, because she's been there. You know, she's not a first-timer in terms of representing the people of Chongwe. She didn't represent them for a term, but she went back. So she knows the story very well and where it's coming from. So it would be good for her to just go back and address the people there and talk to them and see how best it can be done. If at all there's nothing she can do, I think it's always good to just say it. But you know how leadership is. You always have to give hope to the people, even when you know you can't do anything. But then it becomes more hopeless if you don't show up at all. And that's how the situation is. So these people, they want to be addressed. They want to be relocated to the place where they originally came from, which is Kambasa. And they've been having all these fights here and there. So we surely hope that they will see to it and work around whatever they can work around. We don't want to see bloodshed as witnessed some time back over the same area. I think that was unpleasant to the eye.
Yeah, quite well said there. Interestingly enough, we've also seen a story similar to the one we're about to zoom in, and that's a story involving Vauden Finley, as well as the one involving Bowman Lusambo, where Mr. Lusambo has also been refusing to appear before the Economic Crimes Court, suggesting that the court was not introduced in good faith, but to fix politicians. He has advanced quite a number of issues, and he thinks the court is illegal and should not be sitting. So now, let's get to hear that, because the state was justifying that actually they are well placed to
sit and talk about issues to do with financial crimes. So let's look at this story, and thereafter when we return, we will talk about the story.
Establishment of the Specialized Economic Financial Crimes Court by the judiciary continues before the Constitutional Court. In the latest submission filed, the state argues that there is no proper case in which criminal proceedings should be arrested using civil proceedings. In this case, former Kawushi area member of parliament Bowman Lusambo has petitioned government before the Constitutional Court and cited the Attorney General as the respondent, and charges that the move by the Chief Justice to set up the Economic and Financial Crimes Court administratively at the subordinate court is in breach of Article 121(4) of the Constitution. Mr. Lusambo is facing corruption allegations before the Lusaka magistrate and is being tried under the same specialized court, claims its creation targets a group of individuals, especially those from the previous administration. However, in its arguments, the state has submitted that the case has no prospect of success, as the establishment of the Financial Crimes Court is legally backed by the Constitution, adding that there are other specialized courts at the subordinate court which have been established administratively for the need and quick court process, including, among others, the Gender-Based Violence, the Road Traffic Safety Agency Fast Track Court. In its further submission, the state has told the court that no prejudice will be occasioned if the matter that Mr. Lusambo is facing before the subordinate court proceed, as the criminal justice system has its procedure. It has since urged the court to dismiss the application for stay with cost. In 2022, the country's Chief Justice Mumba Malila signed a statutory instrument for the creation of an Economic and Financial Crimes Court. The establishment of this specialized fast-track court by the judiciary is meant to help expeditiously recover public stolen assets. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Inflation and even GDP, which has increased by 1%, 2%, and then you want to acknowledge that this government has worked because of that, and because they have employed the teachers. The teachers are not the only people that need employment, neither do nurses, being the only sector of society that requires employment. Everybody requires employment. So at the end of the day, the policies of the UPND government are loop-sided. Okay, they are extremely artificial, they are extremely what you would call, for a lack of a better term, exotic to a larger extent, that they do not measure with the reality on the ground. And this is the reason why we have found ourselves here. So let, for once, President Hakainde spend more time to deal with the domestic challenges that we are currently facing than finding himself on planes every week. He's busy, and this is why now people are now calling President that he's a Marco Polo, he's a Vasco da Gama, because he's forever jumping on plane. And those days when Lungu would travel, and what was the notion from the president? That Lungu loves traveling and he's forever on planes. Now, ndege yawama wa president Hakainde Hichilema yawama masiti ande. Wankareko pass. Ndege nzabwino is yes quite alright, but at the end of the day, not at the expense of Zambians.
Under the PF regime, we saw it first. I remember very well when Mr. Mwila was the Home Affairs Minister. We were all told to make submissions so that the Public Order Act could be repealed through his office. And we saw Zambians, and I personally did that, so that this same instrument could be repealed. But unfortunately, the usual way of doing things under the PF, nothing was done. And even after 2016 elections, general elections, we still saw PF fidgeting with the same instrument. Now this time around, they had told us to actually make submissions through the means of justice, which actually never happened. This is typical of PF. These were colleagues who were given the mandate by the people of Zambia, but had no time whatsoever to adhere or to save the interest of the citizens. But in less than 2 years, the new Dawn government under His Excellency, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, has been in power. We have seen actually movements, and now we are yet to see the bill in the next few weeks to get into Parliament. This is what we call seriousness. This is what we call leadership. And there is no one now under the PF regime, the previous regime, who can actually stand and challenge us.
In the food and merchandise business in Lusaka have for long been airing their grievances about the conditions of service, ranging from poor pay and long working hours. The latest complainants are former workers of Food Lovers Market located at Levy Shopping Mall in Lusaka, stating that the store has not paid them their due benefits after they tendered in the resignation in December 2022. The former workers explained that after failing to reach an agreement with the chain store, they took to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, adding that through the Office of the Assistant Labour Commissioner, the chain store was then directed to make the said payments. Isaac Daka, one of the affected workers, explains that after the payout, 11 were left out and have since been denied any money, with the company stating that it was not supposed to make any payout in the first place.
Government, yes, New Dawn government, it tends it because we have been going up and down, labor after union after union. And the directive was given by the Labour Assistant Commissioner. So we want this government to come in and help us so that we get what belongs to us.
Another former employee, Fresha Muoni, says the non-payment to the 11 has incapacitated them from providing for their families.
Tinaenda ku Ministry of Labour tutandizire ko pali case ya Food Lovers wanatumiza tende ku court. Court kuliava ku case inangu ya mu 2015 still pending until now.
Meanwhile, Chain Store representative Chantel Tajati says the contracts have no provision for such benefits.
Maybe you should ask them to read their contracts or their union agreement.
The affected workers say they now feel that they have reached a dead end and have urged the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to conduct an inspection on operations at the chain store. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
All right, there you have it. Workers-related issues, Patrick, are always on the table, you know. People always complain the Ministry of Labour probably has not done much in terms of looking at the contracts that people have.
And I was talking in the background before I was actually brought up blackly. I was just trying to analyze this same issue. That we have been talking about these issues time and again, especially pertaining to workers. And it seems that we need to do a lot of work in terms of education on labor matters, because people seem not to understand.
They seem not to understand what their contractual obligations are, depending on the job that they have, and also the reading culture, Patrick. I think we're very pathetic when it comes to reading. When I know patience doesn't exist when you're desperate, but it's important to read through a contract once you're given and you question. And the more reason why they wouldn't ask you, a proper organization or proper company wouldn't ask you to sign before you read through the contract. They'll always give you about 2 or 3 days to go and read the contract, understand it, bring it back and ask the relevant questions on things that you don't understand. But then because we are desperate people that really need jobs, really need money, we don't even mind. You would actually sign the contract before anything else, before even reading it through, before just doing it. You're given and you think you're given the job, but at the same time, there are different types of contracts. Like the contract for our colleague that was given for the national broadcaster, Patrick, you remember? She was given a contract to be DJ there at some point, and then the contract was withdrawn. But according to the explanations, that the fact that you're given a contract doesn't mean that you have officially been given the job. You know, there was all these clauses, all these things that she probably didn't understand, you know, like many of us wouldn't. So it also comes back to the issue of our reading and understanding culture. When you're given a contract, it's important to read. Like that person representing the chain store said, their contract doesn't have that thing. And she could be right.
They should liaise with the union.
She could be right that their contract doesn't include such benefits, you know. And also on their part, they could be right. But then each contract is supposed to be taken to the Ministry of Labor to peruse through, to just see to it that it has all those nitty-gritties that are needed in line with the law. But then other people just make the contracts and there's no approval whatsoever. There's no disclose, there's no disclose. There are just certain things that are mandatory. I mean, if somebody works for a certain period of time, they'll need this, and that. People decide to ignore that. So it's important that we read through the contracts once we're given, we understand them and ask the relevant questions before we sign to avoid such things.
Yeah, quite interesting views, Madam Karimvula, there on the stories that we were zooming in. Interesting stories that we had in the main news for Camnet TV, and we have come to that time when we have to excuse the screen until when we come with another interesting episode of the Camnet Breakfast Show, especially tomorrow as we talk about policy and politics. And this has been Patrick Soko on behalf of Sharon Kalimbula. Remember, Camnet TV
is not just another channel. Thanks for watching. Good morning.